All right, hey everybody, hope your day is going well. It is a gorgeous Sunday out there today. We got temperatures right now sitting in the 70s. We started off today with a lot of the area in the 60s. I see a lot of people saying good morning, good morning. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. It is a nice start. Nice to see some blue sky after yesterday's rain. Of course, yesterday it was great to see some rain. We needed the rainfall. Today, a mostly clear sky over northwest San Antonio. You see temperatures there at 77, 78 at the San Antonio airport, and then 78 at Calaveras Lake as well. Not seeing any rain on the radar for us at the moment. Seeing some in very southern B County. Kind of a coastal shower there that made its way inland. As we make our way throughout today, we're only going to have about a 10 to 20% chance for rain for a few brief showers here and there that are going to be pushing in from coastal regions. You already see a few of those showers trying to squeeze their way inland. But again, if you do see rain today, consider yourself very lucky because the rain chances very much on the lower side. Checking my audio here, making sure it's good. Yeah, I see it's coming in nicely. So let's take a look at what the rain totals are for August now. You know, we picked up a good amount of rain yesterday in San Antonio. The airport didn't see as much as some other spots, but at the airport, they picked up, I think it was a little less than 4/10 of an inch, and they're up to 0.9 now for the month. So getting closer to that inch for the month, but that's behind our average for this time of the month. We're behind the average still by about 0.3 of an inch, a little bit more than that. We need some more rainfall. We're still behind for the year by nearly 5 inches, so way behind. We need some more rainfall to catch up, but yesterday's rain was definitely welcomed. We could just use a little bit more. Right now it's 72 in Fredericksburg, 74 in Kerrville, 78 in San Antonio, and 73 in Bernie. Seeing some 80s, meanwhile, down towards George West, Beeville, and Cotulla. So what can we expect as we head throughout today? Temperatures rising into the mid-90s for much of the region. It's going to be a bit on the warm side, especially compared to yesterday. You know, yesterday we had much cooler conditions. The temperatures only rose to 90 in the Alamo City, and it felt great outside. But today it's going to be a little bit more humid, and it's going to be a little bit on the warm side. There's that 20% chance for rain. You notice some of those brief showers east of I-35. That's all we're going to get. Even if you do see rain today, the showers will be brief. Going to be a mostly clear to partly cloudy sky, and the rain will kind of diminish. Rain chances diminish overnight before they return again tomorrow afternoon. Notice Monday at 5 p.m. Just about a 10% chance for rain. Again, better than nothing, but we could use more rain. That's going to be mainly for areas west of I-35, that 10% chance for rain tomorrow, kind of closer on towards Val Verde and Edwards counties. Starting off Tuesday, temperatures in the 70s to 80s, and then we'll warm up to the 90s again in the afternoon. That hot, humid weather, pretty typical here for August in South Texas. So the next 7 days, you're going to notice this map has changed big time. Big changes in the map. Yesterday, we were looking at 1 to 3 inches of rain east of I-35, and I had mentioned you're probably going to see this map change depending on what the tropical systems do. And the tropical systems have decided they're going to shift a little bit further to the east. I'm going to explain why that's happening in a second. But with that big shift to the east, it means we see less rainfall. We're talking less than ½ of an inch of rain pretty much for everybody over the next 7 days. So who gets the rain now? The answer is very far east portions of Texas and into southern Louisiana. And that's because the track for Marco has changed drastically. As we moved into the early part of yesterday afternoon, they had found that Marco had shifted further to the east of the Yucatan Peninsula and had just missed it. So remember what I said yesterday. Where Marco goes is going to depend on what happens at the Yucatan. I said for Sunday, we're going to have a better idea at where Marco's going. And here we are. It's Sunday. And we now know where this storm is going to be, where it's going to go. It's going to kind of go further on off to the north and head towards southern Louisiana. Now, I see a good question in here. And Bernice says, if the tropical systems combine, what would that be called? And Bernice, I'm going to go ahead and explain that to you. That's the Fujiwara effect. And if that does ever happen, when two hurricanes collide, it wouldn't necessarily be both hurricanes still being hurricanes and colliding. what would happen is over time, it would take time too. One of the hurricanes would basically, the other storm, one storm would be stronger, the other storm would weaken, and that smaller storm would actually pretty much diminish. It would just kind of fall apart, and it would take time. If you had two well-developed systems, they would honestly just go around each other and kind of bump into each other a little bit, almost like tops on a table. But eventually, one of the systems would likely weaken, and then eventually it would be weakened down to a certain point where it was pretty much nothing but the remnants of the storm, and then the other storm would remain with its name. So let's say, this is not happening by the way, but let's say Marco got too close to Laura, and Laura was stronger, and Marco eventually just withered down over a few days, became remnants of a storm, and then the remnants got taken into Laura. Well, it would still just be Laura. So I hope that explained everything. That's not expected to happen. If you're just now joining, that was just a little explanation on how storms could possibly merge with that Fujiwara effect. So I hope that was a good explanation for you. If you have any more questions about it, I'd be happy to answer it for you. But again, that's not expected to happen. Marco is expected to go straight off towards the north and northwest, right now at 13 miles per hour. That forecast cone much thinner now, and that is thanks to the Air Force Reserve hurricane hunters, which are currently flying the storm. Now notice the height at which they're flying at, the altitude rather, 5,194 feet. You may say, that's pretty low for an aircraft in a hurricane. And that's right. That's what they usually fly. They fly low level into the storm to gather that data so we can have a more precise forecast. So that has all that information is taken in to kind of make a more precise forecast, and that lets us know this storm still expected to be a Category 1 hurricane as it gets closer towards southeast Louisiana. Now this is an area that is historically known to have awful storm surge even in a weaker storm. Right now, they're predicting that the Mississippi Gulf Coast could see a 4 to 6 foot storm surge. Honestly, there are parts of Hancock County, which is right here. I think the southeastern facing shore, right there, could see even up to a 10-foot storm surge. I used to live down here on coastal Mississippi, and I'll tell you now, when it comes to winds blowing into that southeast facing shore of Hancock County, it does not take much for you to get a huge storm surge. You could have a weaker storm, even a tropical storm could do a pretty good surge right there on the coast. This will also push water into Lake Pontchartrain. Now that was a big issue during Katrina. The good news is this storm much weaker, but they could see some issues with flooding in the southeast Louisiana area due to this storm because the surge being pushed into Pontchartrain and then also all the heavy rainfall associated with it. Hopefully our friends and neighbors in southeast Louisiana, I've got a lot of friends down in that direction. Hopefully they will do just fine for this storm. Of course, this is a weaker storm, but still even a Category 1 hurricane can do a lot of damage for our neighbors down in southeast Louisiana and southern Mississippi. So that's enough about them. What about us, right? Tropical depression could be in East Texas by the time we head into Wednesday morning. Remember, don't focus on that center part of the track. This storm could very well hug the west side of the track or the south side there, or it could hug the north side. Now, if it hugs that north side of the track, we have an even lower chance of seeing any rain. But if it hugs that south side of the track and maybe does this, not saying this is what happens, but it's a possibility. If it does do that, then we could see a little bit of rain from Marco. The chances, really low. You have a better chance of it staying closer to the center though, and that would be more rain for areas to our north, not so much for us. So Marco, not looking like it's going to bring us much rain as what we were expecting before because that forecast track has shifted to the east. We're going to explain in a second, I'm still going to get to it, why that track shifted to the east in the first place. Before we get into that though, let's talk Laura. Laura is a very impressive storm. It may only be a tropical storm, but I say impressive because it's actually holding itself together fairly well as it goes over the mountainous terrain of Hispaniola. You notice some of these lines out here on the edge of the storm that kind of lets us know that the storm is kind of a little bit more on the healthy side. It's definitely doing well as it tries to conquer the mountainous terrain there in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, which is very well known for just ripping apart tropical systems. Now, I actually wrote a paper on this in college. A weaker storm does a better job holding together on the mountains of Hispaniola than a stronger storm. If this was already a Cat 1, Cat 2 hurricane and it hit Hispaniola, it would likely fall apart a little bit. It would really struggle to get its act back together. But as a weaker storm, it has a better chance of getting its act together once it comes across Cuba and becoming a stronger system again. So we're watching this closely. I will tell you, even as a weaker system, I think this is a storm that is handling the mountainous terrain very well. It's still up in the air on what could exactly happen with this storm, on the exact track of it. This track has a lot of uncertainty to it, and that's because it depends on whether this storm splits Haiti and Cuba. A lot of storms do this, where they'll go due north, and it won't go that far north. Let me draw a better line here. It will go due north and then track on the north side of Cuba. It'll either do that, or if it gets far enough south of that split, of that little strait right there between Haiti and Cuba, it will stay south of Cuba and kind of do something more like this. So right now that is still kind of up in the air a little bit. We're going to have to watch that closely. If it does go like this, then it definitely is going to stay kind of further on towards this east side of the track. But if it does manage to miss that split, then it will stay south and hug the west side a little bit more. So right now, some uncertainties with where Laura could go, but it does not look like it will come too close to South Texas. It looks like it will stay to the east, and I'm about to explain that here in a moment, guys. Just give me 1 second. I'm trying to get through all the basics here on this system. So becoming a tropical storm in the Gulf, or staying one rather, it may actually weaken a little bit as it moves over Cuba. It depends on how much of Cuba it moves over. And then becoming a Category 1 hurricane to possibly even Cat 2 by the time it makes landfall in either coastal Mississippi, Hancock County area, southern Louisiana, or even southeast Texas could see this as a landfalling storm. You could see this as far west as Galveston even, or kind of closer on towards, I think that would be near Matagorda. So there you have it. I mean, 100-mile-per-hour winds, Category 2 storm, definitely possible as this storm gets closer on towards Louisiana. And that would be Thursday morning. So let's bump it back a little bit. Notice where Marco will be by Wednesday morning. It'll be kind of over East Texas. We may have a little bit of interaction between these two storms with that Fujiwara effect I said. If Marco just completely falls apart in East Texas, the remnants of Marco could be brought in to what is Laura. Now, that doesn't make a super hurricane or anything like that. That's not how that works. It'll just kind of add to the moisture for Laura and allow the system to just have more rain bands with it and make the storm, when I say larger, could be a larger storm, covers more area. Don't necessarily mean that in intensity. It just means it covers more area as those rain bands and the amount of moisture is wider out. So that's kind of pretty much what we're watching there with Marco and Laura. Both are expected to stay further on off to the east, and here's why. Finally got to it, guys. That upper level pattern. So the high pressure system that's over the eastern or the western part of the Atlantic is helping to steer these systems. Now there is Marco. That's what this one weather model is showing. Now remember, this is just one weather model. This doesn't exactly mean this is exactly where the storms are going. But this one weather model shows that the high pressure steers Marco kind of right into southeast Louisiana and south Mississippi. And then, here's Monday, that's where Laura is, western tip of Cuba. Once Laura comes off the western tip of Cuba, this one weather model shows that it's going to get pushed by this high pressure still a little bit further to the west. Now, I'm going to tell you all this now. This weather model is showing it go further to the west than what many of the models are expecting. So this is kind of the best case scenario for rain for us. This is not a good case scenario for our friends on the coast. We don't want this, we want, if anything happens, we would want it to be a weaker storm. But if this does track because of this high pressure, if this high pressure does push it this far, which is looking like it won't even get this far west, but it's possible, we may get a little bit of rain here in San Antonio, and it would be a stronger storm kind of closer towards Beaumont, Lake Charles area. But again, this is just one weather model, and remember what I said. There's a lot of uncertainty in the track for Laura until it gets off the western tip of Cuba. So something that we're going to have to watch real closely. Of course, it is coming closer towards the peak of hurricane season, which is September 10th. As we get closer to that peak, we'll see more activity in the Atlantic Basin. The next name you see there, Nana, is coming up, and then we have the O name, Omar. So right now, nothing else out there to be too much of a concern of. There was a wave that came off Africa, but it kind of dissipated. I think it kind of looked at the situation we have and said, there's enough going on out there in the Gulf. Forget about it, right? Let's hope that the Atlantic can just say, you know what, we've had enough this year. Let's go ahead and just quiet down. We can only hope. But unfortunately, Mother Nature doesn't always work that way for us. So let's take a look at the rain chances for this week for us here in South Texas. You notice that they're lower now. They were up to 40% in some spots just yesterday morning. We were talking about higher chances for rain this week. But remember, Marco's track shifts, so the rain chances went down. Just a 10 to 30% chance throughout the week. Remember, less than a half of an inch of rain expected for everyone. Temperatures in the 70s for lows, 90s for highs. What about beyond the 7-day forecast? Day 8 through day 14. Looks like around average for the rainfall, but we really could use above average because we've been so dry recently. We could use more rain. We could also use some cooler temperatures, but above average temperatures expected here as we head from day 8 through day 14. So the next 7 days looking at like will be around average, but the above average temperatures return in 2 weeks. So on the second week, rather, a week from now, we'll start to see those above average temperatures return. Because today we're going to be around average. We're going to be about 95, 96 today. That's where we should be this time of year. But above average temperatures do look like they will make a comeback. So guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. It's beautiful outside. Get out and enjoy some of this nice weather. It's going to be hot this afternoon. Drink plenty of water. Wear plenty of sunscreen because we'll have a lot of sunshine too. And remember, very slight chance for rain. Just a 20% chance. I hope it can rain though, wherever you are, because we need the rainfall. Again, unless you're having a big outdoor event. I hope it misses you then. But for now, we're going to go ahead and sign off of here, guys. We're going to keep you updated on these tropical systems. Don't worry. We're going to stay updated on them all throughout the next week, especially, Laura, where there's so much more uncertainties. Remember, Marco is expected to make landfall near southeast Louisiana. If you got any friends and neighbors out that way, I guarantee you they know it's coming. But you may want to give them a call, make sure that they have everything ready just in case. And then for our friends in South Mississippi as well. So we'll keep you updated on these storms. Keep an eye on them. Remember, the forecast could change pretty drastically with Laura just because it has all that land to cover in Cuba, depending on if it goes north or south of the landmass that is Cuba. It's going to be depending on where this system goes. So guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. And meteorologist Megan Massey will be on this evening with the latest updates to the forecast and the tropical systems. So make sure you stay tuned to KENS 5. You'll have a great one.